This is going to be one of, if not the best pieces of advice you will hear today, maybe even this week. Starting today, you are only going to allow yourself to see the world from a positive perspective. No more complaining, no more wishing things were differently or holding on to emotions from situations that happened months ago. This will take a bit of practice to see the results, but I can promise it will have a ripple effect into every area of your life. Today, we are going to dive into the 4 reminders to help change our perspective so that we can move through this world with a positive lens. Are you ready to change your mind? Let's fire it up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite, the world's favorite bearded man, Bob A. Each week on these solo podcasts, we dive into topics to help you become the best version of yourself. Do I have all the answers? Absolutely not. This is just my bearded wisdom that I hope brings value to you. Now, if you enjoy this specific episode at any moment in time, if you're listening to this episode and you're like, damn, the bearded man's right. Bob A's got some gems. Ooh, this helps me. I love it. If that hits at any moment in time during this episode, please screenshot this episode on whatever platform you're listening in on, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, you name it. Post it to your IG story. Tag me at Bob A. That's B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. Share out this specific episode on your IG story and let me know what was the biggest takeaway. How did this episode change your perspective? This helps grow the show tremendously. So please continue to do so today. It is very much appreciated. And thank you. Sincerely, I appreciate you, and I want you to know that. The positive mindset. Perception is your reality. Do you see the glass as half empty, or do you see it as half full? In that example, the negative perspective would be to choose seeing it as half empty. The positive perspective would be to choose seeing it as half full. We always want to choose the positive perspective because it will have a ripple effect on how we view our life and the situations that occur on a daily basis. Now, it seems kind of obvious, right? But yet, it's still very hard to do on a daily basis. Why? Because it forces us to think and see the world from a viewpoint we weren't really necessarily conditioned to see it as, or just so easily. There's this quote I came across online: thoughts become perception. Perception becomes reality. Alter your thoughts and you alter your reality. This is from William James. There is something to be said about how we perceive the world impacts the way in which we feel. It took me quite a bit of time and effort to really start practicing having a positive perspective and mindset all the time. Notice how I use the word practice, because like anything in life, we're not great when we start. We pick up the guitar for the first time and we can barely strum it smoothly. We fire up the mic for our first podcast and we stutter and we don't know what to say or when. I think we can all agree that consistent practice is the only way we get better. Similarly, if we practice having a positive mindset at all times, we will inevitably get better with having that mindset more often than not. But let me make something clear. I'm not here to promote over-optimization and say that by always thinking good, everything that happens in your life will just be perfect and good, right? Shit's going to hit the fan. Things won't go according to plan. There is no way in avoiding that, so don't bother to try. When it happens, flow with it. Don't resist it. You may lose the dream job you've worked so hard to get. You may get dumped by someone you are head over heels for. You may get ditched on your weekend plans an hour before you were supposed to meet up. These scenarios are supposed to disrupt your emotions and cause unwanted feelings like sadness, anxiousness, overwhelmingness, anger, frustration, you name it. It is our responsibility and in our best interest to, with a flip of a switch or snap of a fingers, view these types of situations from a positive lens and see how they are helping us. Rather than this is happening to me, I've tried to flip it, instead think, how is this happening for me. Changing 2 to 4 completely changes the perspective, and it changes the way we feel about a given situation. How has living with a positive mindset helped me, you might ask? It's a complete game changer. I didn't even consider to start thinking this way until I started to deep dive into the self-help and self-growth world and realized there are a lot of common characteristics in high-level successful people, and this is one of the many. They recognize the sooner they can lean into the positives from a negative situation, the sooner they can march forward and carry with them the lessons that will help better prepare themselves for the future. Instead of freezing up and feeling stuck when I'm tossed a curveball in my life, I immediately go into mindset pivot mode and ask myself, how is this helping me? What did I learn? What should I change in the future to avoid this? I'm adding more lessons to the tool belt so that they can better prepare me for the future. A recent example is when I had plans for Valentine's Day and they got canceled. I didn't allow myself any time to throw a pity party because we couldn't hang on the one night you want to have a date. Boo-hoo, right? I just accepted it for what it is. And I took the time to do some internal work by reading, and then I went to sleep with a smile on my face. Self-care and self-love never, ever disappoints. That immediate mindset to say to myself, okay, so the plans are canceled. What do we do now with our time? Allowed me to switch gears immediately. In the past, I would not have been able to do that. I would spend more time complaining in my mind about this person canceling, and now I don't know what I'm going to do with my time, blah, 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 blah. Instead, I've gotten better at when things shift, you immediately shift with it. There was no time to get all caught up in my feels as much as any human, including myself, would love to, which I've done many times in the past. And sometimes we come up with these, but why did they cancel? Or, but now I have no date on Valentine's Day. Boo-hoo. For me, I immediately dug deep for the positive side of the plans getting canceled, which gave me more me time. Huge positive. Don't get me wrong. I'm a social butterfly and I would rather be out and about always. But, I recognize the importance of recharging my personal batteries, and this was a perfect moment to do so. Does it take effort to see the positive in every situation? You better believe it. Do we sometimes wish things would have gone our way? Of course. But that's never going to be the reality. It's never going to play out as perfectly as we want it to. The sooner we can adapt this positive mindset, the sooner we're going to be able to glide through life as we continuously make pivots and we keep flowing. Instead of coming to a full stop because we are thrown off emotionally from the speed bumps of life, we are constantly proceeding with caution. We may slow down, but we are still moving forward at all times. So the 4 reminders that I've found in changing my own perspective. Number 1, search for the positive in every situation. I know this reminder is the most obvious, but it has to be said again and again and again. It is in our best interest and our responsibility to dig deep for the positive in every situation. When I say every, I mean every. Is it going to be easier said than done? Yes. But can it be done? Absolutely. Anytime you come across a moment where you're digging for a positive, ask yourself the 3 questions I spoke about earlier. How is this helping me? What can I learn? What should I change about the future to avoid this? The answers to these questions are the gold. They are the lessons and perspectives that you can now keep with you and use for the future. In order for us to dig up the positive, we may need to put down the phone and just cut off all distractions and really think and go internal. And as corny or as cheesy as this may sound, close your eyes and think about the answer to these questions if you need to. When you open your eyes, keep a mental note of what you've learned and watch how beneficial this will be for you in the future. So the first reminder to change your perspective: always search for the positive in every situation. Although it may be difficult in the moment, there is something that can be learned from the situation that will help us for the future. Quick break from today's episode, and then we'll get right back to it. Today's episode is brought to you by the Stay Dialed In app. Have you guys and gals downloaded the app? I don't think you've done so today. You need to head over to your local app store that's either on your iPhone or Google and search Stay Dialed In app. It is free to download. It is going to be your biggest accountability community for 2022 and beyond. This app is full of members there to support you in any aspect of your life, whether it's dating, whether it's career building, whether it's passion projects, life experiences, health and wellness, mental health, you name it. This community is there to support you. To download the app, it is free. That'll give you just access to our notification board with daily notifications going to your phone to help you become the best version of yourself. There's also a photo section. We'll just have that has a bunch of photos to help inspire you in your day to day. There is, however, a paywall of $4.99 per month, which I was trying to keep at a reasonable price, a cup of coffee in any major city. And that's going to give you access to the actual community and all these different discussion boards, as well as private videos and podcasts. And it's something that I'm really excited about moving forward. So if it's of interest at all to you, head over to join.staydialedin.com to at least learn more about what the paywall is and what you can expect in the actual app. Or once again, you can just download it today. So join.staydialedin.com, your biggest accountability community for 2022 and beyond. The link is in the description below of this episode to check it out. And I hope you guys and gals enjoy it. So stay dialed in, keep getting after it. Let's get back to today's episode. Number 2, drop the unwanted emotions. Something daily meditation has taught me over the last couple of years is to detach myself from unwanted emotions. This isn't a skill that is supposed to be learned overnight, but it can be learned with consistent practice. In order to start incorporating a more positive mindset into our life, we need to drop the unwanted emotions. When we feel sadness, anger, overwhelmed, aggravated, we need to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And let these emotions out of your body and mind. It is going to be impossible to see the positive in any situation if these emotions are top of our mind. Are we going to be able to drop them out of us that quickly? Just by a quick breathe in and a breathe out? Most likely not. But it will help immediately push out the emotions slowly and surely. Another step we can take is to stop giving these emotions our energy and our time thinking about them all day, every day, which then will simmer the emotions down. When we give these unwanted emotions our attentions, we are empowering them to stick with us longer, and we're adding fuel to the fire. Find tactics like meditation, journaling, therapy, or phoning a friend to get these unwanted emotions off your chest and out of your head so that you can change the negative lens for a more positive one. So the second reminder to change your perspective, drop the unwanted emotions because they're going to fog up our lens from seeing any positives that came from a situation. Number 3, give advice to yourself from a friend's perspective. Think back on a recent moment when a friend, a family member, or maybe someone you work with asked for advice. Was it not easy to see the situation as black and white, which made it very easy to come up with an opinion on what to do next, right? You look at the facts of the situation, you consider the options, and you spit back advice all relatively quickly and with ease. When we are giving advice to a friend, we're completely eliminating all the built up narratives that we create in our mind when we are in this, the narratives that we build up in our mind from when we are in the situation and in the spotlight. So positive narratives could include, they must have not texted me because they don't like me anymore. Or I must have not gotten the job because I'm not good enough. Or nobody's inviting me to anything cool on the weekends, so I must not be valued by them. As hard and as difficult as it might be, try taking yourself out of the equation and just see the situation for what it is without taking it personally. Same narratives. First one, they must have not texted me back because they don't like me anymore. Changes to, Maybe they were busy and forgot to respond. I'll send a follow-up text in a few days. I must have not gotten the job because I'm not good enough. Turns into maybe there was someone more qualified for the position, even though I was a really good candidate. And the other one, nobody's inviting me to anything cool on the weekends, so I must not be valued by any of them. Changes to maybe nobody knows that I'm searching for community and new experiences. Start looking at situations as what advice would you give to a friend if they were going through what you're going through? Doesn't it feel so much different thinking about it from that lens? Reframing the perspective of the situation and seeing it from a neutral standpoint makes all the difference in how we respond and how we feel about it. So the third reminder to change your perspective, give advice to yourself from a friend's perspective. Strip away the narratives that we all create in our head and see the situation for the facts. It will make all the difference. And number 4, practice, practice, practice. Like every aspect of your life, we need to put in the reps. Your first interview may not be perfect. Your first date might not have been so hot. Your first game of the season may have been a lot of pressure. We are not supposed to be great when we start. We need to start in order to someday become great. Incorporating a positive mindset is going to take quite a bit of effort and energy. So please do not get overwhelmed because you are not seeing overnight results. The more reps we put in, the better we get. It is as simple as that. As we start to approach different scenarios in our life from this positive mindset, we're going to start to get used to it. Not only will we get used to it, we're going to see the benefits and how it makes us feel and how it ripples into our energy, the way we carry ourselves, etc. Continue to put in the practice daily. And when shit hits the fan, ask yourself, how is this helping me? In the moment, it may be unclear. That is very common, but give it some time for the dust to settle so that you can see everything much more clearly. Practice builds perfection. Continue to use this positive mindset on a daily basis, and it will make all the difference. Fourth reminder to change your perspective, practice, practice, practice. The only way we start to incorporate a more positive mindset into our lives is by consistently putting in the effort to do so on a daily basis. To recap, we all possess the ability to incorporate a positive mindset. Instead of seeing every situation from a negative lens, this will help us see everything from a more optimistic perspective. Just because things didn't go the way we'd hoped them to go doesn't mean we can't learn from the situation and apply those lessons moving forward. Like anything in life, the more we practice, the better we are going to get in time. 4 reminders to change your perspective so you can see the positives in every situation. Number 1, always search for the positive in every situation. Although it may be difficult in the moment, there is something that can be learned from the situation that will help us for the future. Number 2, drop the unwanted emotions because they're going to fog up our lens from seeing any positives that can come from a situation. Number 3, give advice to yourself from a friend's perspective. Strip away the narratives we all create in our head and see the situation as black and white with nothing in between. And number 4, practice, practice, practice. The only way we can start to incorporate a more positive mindset into our lives is by consistently putting in the effort to do so daily. Challenge for the listeners. Take 10 minutes within the next 24 hours and consider a situation that you were still salty about. Could have happened last week, last month, or honestly, even a few years ago. Are you holding on to the situation with only a negative perspective? Well, I want to encourage you to please consider something positive you've learned from the situation. Not only take the time to change your perspective on past situations, but also get ready to start deploying this positive mindset in real time, starting today and into the future. Pod review of the week. We did not have any pod reviews this week, so please head over to the iTunes podcast app and leave a 1-word, 1-sentence review. This really, really does help the show. If you're a Spotify listener, there is now a rating on the show, so please give it 1 to 5 stars. You should be able to find it right underneath the cover art of the actual podcast when you click into the show. So please take a moment to do so today. That is oh so appreciated. If you enjoyed this specific episode today, all that I ask is please screenshot this episode on whatever platform you're listening in on, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, you name it. Post it to your IG story. Tag me at Babe. That's B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's and a Y. Share out the podcast in your IG story. Let me know what was the biggest takeaway. What was the soundbite that caught your attention the most? How are you going to start changing your mindset to be more positive in the future? I'd be very curious to see how this episode impacted you today. So please take a moment to do so today. And I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. That's it. Episode 169, The Positive Mindset. 4 reminders to change your perspective. I hope you guys and gals enjoyed it. It's the Bearded Man Podcast. See ya.